absolutely the opposite for the distance runners. It's 35 degrees centigrade here in Madrid right now. I've just checked, and it's very, very steamy. It's tough conditions. That said, it's the same for all of them, but this is not the highest caliber of fields once you get past the best half dozen or so. Plenty of athletes in this race have never broken 16 minutes, which is a long, long way off international class, with all due respect. But that's because not many distance runners of real caliber want to run in a race like this where they knew it was going to be hot and there's a slight altitude factor. That said, Nadia Battocletti is the defending champion. 14:23. The Italian ran very recently on the 6th of June. She won 2 years ago by over 4 seconds, Battocletti, and there she is. She's the outstanding favourite here, the 25-year-old Italian. Olympic silver medalist last summer, over 10,000 metres. Took a double at the Europeans in Rome last summer in front of a home crowd at 5,000 and 10,000. Golds there. Indeed, she's a European champion at cross-country, on the roads over 10k and on the track over 10k. There's Kalle Hauga-Thackeray. Her dad was a great runner, himself a World Championship half-marathon medalist. She took a bronze medal in those European half-marathon championships last summer in Rome and was 7th at the World Half in Riga a couple of years ago. The Spaniard, she's in fabulous form too, is the athlete out there in the orange and yellow, and we know she's going to go well. Marta Garcia, European Championship bronze medalist last year in Rome, over 5,000, and in great form over 3,000 in the indoor season. Lahti of Sweden, Sarah Lahti, great cross-country runner, very experienced, but has never broken 15 minutes. Her best 15:02. It's a tough evening in which to expect a personal best from anyone. The Dutch athlete Diane van Aers has a best of 15:07, but only 15:18 this year. And frankly, 15 minutes is about the benchmark of the international class at this discipline, when you think the very best in the world down there and below 14:20. The Czech and the Ukrainian there looking for solid runs. Points vital here, but there will be huge gaps, I suspect, unless Battocletti here decides to run it tactically, this 5,000. There she is, left of picture, and the outside echelon on the very outside, Nadia Battocletti. She is probably the best non-African distance runner in the world at the moment. 12.5 laps of the track. Away they go then. It is sweltering here. There's altitude. The track surface is very warm. There's no shelter. There's no protection for these athletes. I haven't seen any sprays or tables of water on the track. Have you, Phil? Anything like that that might help these athletes? Oh yes, over on the back straight, middle of the back straight, there's a water table which will be used, I can assure you, and I suspect from early on. And we didn't expect this to be quick. We expected it to be slow, and it looks to me like it's going to be super slow. It's a jog through these early stages, down to 200 metres. They come down in front of us. We're very lucky. We have a glorious commentary position here just over the finish line in this superb little stadium with this amazing track colour. I love it. I love it. It's a glorious light green. How would you describe this green, Phil? It's not emerald green. Military green? No, it's too light for that. It's a sort of fluorescent green.
Lime green.
Lime green's not bad, yeah.
Yeah,
not bad.
There's only really one country that has a kit this colour. That's Slovenia, which is, of course, the home for the second division, which is going on over the weekend. And that will obviously be a very important competition to decide who gets promoted to the European Team Championships top flight in 2 years' time.
So let's take a look at these leading athletes then. It is Battocletti who leads, the Pied Piper in effect here. A great 5,000 personal best in Rome 3 weeks ago, 14:23, when she battled against the best of the Africans. Kalle Hauga-Thackeray in second place there. The Polish athlete in third, that's Weronika Lizakowska of Poland's best of only 15:38. But these conditions, to some degree, create a bit of a lottery. But I think, you know, it is going to be very, very slow. At some point, somebody's going to lose patience and try and kick away or inject some serious speed into this. But it might be very late in the race. I can't see anybody wanting to become a sacrificial lamb and go out hard. So it's a difficult one. When do you make your move if you're amongst the favourites? I mean, Phil, I ran the European Cup 5,000 in 1987 in Prague. It was sweltering hot there, not dissimilar to this. And of course I got out sprinted like I did in just about every race I ever ran. But I came second, and I think with about 3 laps to go, I just put my head down and went for it. and I was feeling like death at the time already, but you just got to grit your teeth for those last 3 minutes or so. And of course I was out sprinted by a 1500-meter runner. Well, but you know, you've got to play to your strengths. You've got to know mentally, you've got to go into a race like this, know it's going to be horrible. You're going to get to 5, 6, 7 laps feeling awful and just gut your way through that middle section.
Well, I wonder what's going through Battocletti's mind, because I don't think she'll be worried about any of the other runners, with the exception of Marta Garcia. Now, Garcia's a 4:05 1500-meter runner, and possibly has a better turn of speed than Battocletti in a slow-run race. It's very interesting to see how it was unfolding. But I think I was watching that race on the television back in '87 as a youngster.
Was it black and white? I can't remember.
I think I was still a student. I probably couldn't only afford a black and white telly. What was your plan going into it, knowing full well? I mean, were you looking at the other people's credentials?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You've got to play to your own strengths, and if you don't do your homework, look at that. It's an 82-second lap, and that's almost Paula Radcliffe marathon pace. Yeah. If you don't do your homework and look at the others and what their capabilities are, then you expect to be surprised and expect to be beaten. And it wasn't super slow. I think it was a 13:30 race, which wasn't bad for those sweltering conditions. This is going to be super slow. Battocletti, they're moving out for a drink halfway down the back straight with less than 3 laps done. And certainly she is doing the right thing. You know what they say in marathon running? If you if you become thirsty and you go to take a drink, you've left it too late. Their first kilometre, wait for it, 3:27. I mean, super slow, as you would expect. No blame being pointed at any of these athletes, because they've just got to survive these first 8 or 9 laps and then think racing. That's what I would be doing. I think that's probably what I did. It's a long time ago, Phil. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, you always want to be up there in a position to be able to react to any surge, but near the front and not doing more work than necessary for the first 8 or 9 laps in these conditions. Nobody here is doing more work than necessary, that's for sure. They're jogging.
No, you don't need to be a maths professor to work out that that's 17:15 pace. Did notice that Diane Van Ness went over. Not everybody took water, but Battocletti, Diane Van Ness did. Burkhardt didn't. Burkhardt's one of the 4 women who've run under 15 minutes in this race. Doesn't seem to run well in hot conditions, Burkhardt. Very well known as a cross-country runner. Less exceptional credentials on the track. Now, Diane Van Ness, you were in Brussels at the European Running Championships when there was a lot of expectation on Van Ness, and that was a half marathon, but she never performed to expectations and folded in the latter stages of that race, didn't she?
She did fold in the latter stages. No, you're exactly right. I'm just trying to remember what position she came in Brussels. Did she not drop out?
No, she didn't finish in the
end. No,
exactly. She dropped out about 2 kilometres from the end as she was going backwards.
So Matarenko takes over. Battocletti now in front. The Spaniard Garcia moving up onto her shoulder. Now Garcia, of course, they're in that orange and yellow Spain in 3rd place on the outside. Will be acclimatised a bit better than most of these athletes. The weather in Spain, and the locals have all been saying this, has been sweltering for the whole of June. It's been a much warmer early summer than expected, so they have acclimatised to some degree. Somebody was saying that in the hotel yesterday, and it'll be interesting to see if Garcia therefore has a great run here, or maybe a better than expected run. Although that's a tough one, because Phil, you look at her credentials, she's a superb athlete, 8:29 last year at 3,000. Garcia, on paper, ought to finish in the first 3 here. So, and yet you wouldn't expect her to beat Battocletti. So 2nd or 3rd is a realistic expectation for Garcia.
I mean, we're talking about making a decision about when to go. I think it's just a question of when does Battocletti go? When does she break up this field? Now, I don't expect it in the first half of the race, but it's a question of, well, you've got the experience here. What would you do? You went with 3 laps to go, you said, back in '87. Would you go at 3 laps? Would you go at 4 or 5 laps to go if you were Battocletti?
Well, I'm just looking at what she's been up to recently. She ran a 1500 in 3:58 just a few weeks ago in Rovereto, Battocletti. So, you know, the thing about the middle and long distance races at the European Team Championships, it's an opportunity to practice racing. Instead of being on the commercial circuit, the Diamond League meetings and other races where there are pacemakers, this is where you learn to race. You learn to get used to bodies being around you, elbows banging, people clipping you from behind. You get spiked. I mean, my shins after 10 years or so of racing as an international are a massive little slash scars from spikes. But you get that in this sort of race. You get spikes a lot, and you just have to learn to live with it. And you see quite a lot nowadays in major championships, athletes who are unfamiliar with having to race as opposed to taking position in a sort of time trial. Nearly 84 seconds that lap, by the way, Phil. If anything, it's getting slower. So Battocletti here, I think, might want to test her speed, bearing in mind that recent 1500 best. She might want to test her speed over the last 1,000 or so. It'll be quite interesting to see when she does go.
One person we haven't mentioned who's up there is Alessia Szabo. You can just see her, the diminutive Frenchwoman, as we look at Diane Van Ness. She's taken water on almost every lap, Van Ness. She's obviously very concerned about her own dehydration. The Netherlands currently leading the standings, but Szabo, there you can see it just coming into shot, almost sandwiched between Burkhardt and Van Ness, just a little bit further back, currently in about 5th place. Well, she had a fantastic run at the European 10,000 metres Cup in Passy in May. Finished second on that occasion, I think it was even in a personal best. So she's in good form at the moment. She hasn't quite got the credentials of some of the other women, but on a slow-paced race, I think she can retain a huge, consistent form. And she's somebody who might well want to inject a bit of pace when we get to about 5 or 6 laps to go, because she knows she's not as quick as some of the women who are perhaps slower than her, but she could actually take it out at a much stronger pace. Yes, of course, we're still talking about Garcia and Battocletti as the real favourites for this race, but I'm intrigued to see how Szabo goes, and it'll be interesting to see how French points go, because they're languishing at the moment, down in 11th place. Now, France have had a couple of really poor European team championships. They want to do better. They want to get into the top 8.
Callie Hauger-Thackeray has got a 10,000 in her legs. She did run the UK Championships 10,000 metres in Birmingham last week. She ran 31.24, finished in 2nd place. It was a really strong run from her, even though it was some way about half a minute outside her personal best. But clearly she feels she's recovered from that, and I think she's wanting to inject a little bit of respectability into this. The first kilometre was 3:27, super slow. The second kilometre was turbo super slow. It was even slower at 3:28. They got to 2K in 6:55. Whereas normally you might expect them to get to 2K in around, I don't know, say 6 minutes, but these are horrible conditions. So Hauger-Thackeray now beginning to test this field, and almost immediately stretching them out. 1 or 2 athletes dropping away off the back, including the Pole, Blizzakowska, who is not in shot there. There you can see her in the dark glasses in the background. Hauger-Thackeray here, playing to her strengths, Phil. I reckon this is smart. Around mid-race, she's just wanting to step it up a little bit. She's got that half-marathon strength. She knows she's not a super quick finisher, so she's doing the right thing here. She's optimising her chances.
Well, I think she's qualified for the World Championships, hasn't she? She's got that 2:21 marathon. Was that London this year? I can't remember. We'll double check on that one. But yes, last year. But she's very wise here. Burkhardt up on her shoulder. Burkhardt, one of the sub 15-minute performers. Best of 14:56, which she did fairly recently, actually, Burkhardt. And now the pace is noticeably getting a little bit quicker, thanks to Callie Hauger-Thackeray.
You know what's impressive, is useful to note or to see, is that they are in the shade now. This home straight, perhaps, about half the circuit is in the shade now, and the shadows are lengthening and more of it getting in the shade. Hauger-Thackeray blowing hard there. The German in 2nd place. Burkhardt, European Team Championship silver medalist in the steeplechase 4 years back, is going well on that lap 72, and don't forget we've had laps of 88, 89, so a significant injection of tempo, and now we're away, 6 in the pack.
Now the racing really starts. That 72-second lap, the quickest of the race so far. Got about 6 minutes, perhaps a little bit less of racing to go now.
Well, that 3rd kilometre at 3:16 from Hauger-Thackeray. She only really started upping the tempo through the second half of it. They've gone 3:27, 3:28, 3:16. This 4th kilometre, always for me, was the toughest of a 5,000 metres. If you break it down into 5 sections of 2.5 laps, you can get to halfway, you can get to 3,000, 7.5 laps in reasonable shape normally. And then when you're in the last 1,000, psychologically you've got the finish within sight, within reach. The 4th kilometre is always the toughest for me. It's a bit like the 3rd lap in a mile race. It's where you've got to really dig down.
Also up there, we thought it was her disappearing off the back, the pole Lisakowska, but in fact she's tucked in there in that group. It was the Hungarian Szabo who was disappearing off the back. And now another 72-second lap.
Yeah, and they're pulling away. They're pulling away quickly, aren't they, this group? Hauge Thackeray from Burkhardt of Germany in the yellow there, who's been on the shoulder of the leader throughout the race pretty much. Battocletti in 3rd on the inside. I wonder when Battocletti's going to make a move. Surely the Italian, used to this sort of weather, will make a move soon. Garcia of Spain is in there just holding Battocletti on the inside, who's boxed at the moment, the Italian. Lati of Sweden in the yellow cap is having a good run. And Daan Vanez of Netherlands completes the 6th there towards the back of that group. 2:59 that 4th kilometre. Yes, by far the quickest. Goodness me. And that's, even though it's not super fast, it hurts, that injection of pace. 3:27, 3:28, 3:16, 2:59. Now we're coming to the business end, coming into the straight now with just over 2 laps to go.
Hauge Thackeray now still taking the pace at the front as she's done throughout the race. Pace looks as though it just slowed temporarily there. Burkhardt head bobbing from side to side, but she always looks like that. She always looks as though she's struggling. Not always the case. And now Thackeray, after taking a breath down the home straight, they're into the last 800 metres now. It's Hauge Thackeray in front, Burkhardt, Lati on the inside, dressed for the occasion with cap and sunglasses. Now Battocletti edging around the outside. She's looking as though she's getting ready to pounce. 700 metres into this race. Vanessa as well, looking confident at this stage. The pace is still being cranked up, and now Battocletti moving steadily forward.
Battocletti then, 600 metres to run, hits the front for the first time in about 6 or 7 laps. Hauge Thackeray's led through the middle section of the race and has done the hard work and reduced this to this 6. But Battocletti now with 500 metres to run. Vanez in 2nd. The Spaniard Garcia in 3rd. The crowd loving this one. Big crowd here in the shaded area around this final bend. As Battocletti comes towards the bell. Vanez, Garcia, Hauge Thackeray in 4th. Good running there from the Swedish athlete Lati to move into 5th place. And this is the bell this time. They go through with a 72nd lap. It's the quickest lap of the race so far. Now Battocletti has got to use that 3:58, 1,500 metre speed. She has made herself a little bit vulnerable by leaving it this late. And Garcia, remember, 300 metres to run in 2nd place for Spain, will be running in inspired fashion. But now she opens her speed up. Battocletti, 2:50 to go, and tears into this last 300. 200 metres to run. Hauge Thackeray back in 5th. Lati isolated in 4th in the yellow cap. Vanez in 3rd. And Battocletti has destroyed them over this last 150. And with 150 to run now, it is going to be the expected retention of this title for Nadia Battocletti. It's been very comfortable indeed for her. The time immaterial, the manner of the victory, well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? She has been able to test herself. Garcia in 2nd, being chased down by Vanez, but it will be a super silver for the Spaniard as Battocletti takes it at 14:13. 57.6 that final circuit. That is quick. That is world-class closing. That will be very, very pleasing for the Italian and her camp, because you don't see too many 5,000s finish with a final of that speed, no matter what the early tempo. That was superb. Had a look chat with her yesterday. She had exams last Friday. She's got exams to come again for her engineering certificates in a few weeks' time. She has got it all, this young Italian. Boy, oh boy, Phil, what a run.
Indeed, Battocletti, well, in the end, she won it as she pleased. It was a stunning 57.6 last lap for Battocletti, the Italian team champion. And that will have really raised the spirits in the Italian camp. The defending champions, Marta Garcia, in the end, despite her fast finishing speed, a 4:05 performer, didn't have anything to match Battocletti once she went through the gears. I thought at one point Daan Vanez was going to get up and challenge Garcia, but she just managed to dig deep and come home and get 15 points for the Spaniards. A good run as well from Sara Lahti, the Swede. Her second good run in 3 weeks. She ran a personal best of 15:02 recently. Good points for the Swede. But the woman who all the plaudits goes to, the woman you're looking at, Nadia Battocletti, double European champion, Olympic medalist, and now winner of the European Team Championships here in Madrid.
And another gold for Battocletti in this 5,000 metres. You know, her career is defined by medals in major championships, performances in major championships. And chatting to her day before yesterday at the press conference, she said, yes, I like to run for Italy. I'm proud of running for my team. We like to put out a good, strong team in this. And I wish that was the attitude from the UK athletics and the Great Britain athletics team. Brave run here from Helga Thackeray, by the way, who did the damage middle of the race to break up the pack and ensure she got at least fifth place points there for the British squad, even though she couldn't match the closing speed. But yes, Battocletti, very, very impressive indeed. A class apart, I think you could say, as was expected. Garcia, great points for Spain, with second place about 2.5 seconds down on Battocletti. But that is just the workout the Italian needed. So she's achieved a great deal here today. Because I'll tell you what, Phil, in Tokyo at the World Championships, it is going to be sweltering. I was there in 1991 for the World Championships, and it was horrific. It was like sitting in a sauna for several hours in that Olympic Stadium back in 91. It's not going to be any different in September. It's going to be very, very hot and sticky in about 11 weeks' time.
Yeah, both of us were in Osaka in 2007. I mean, it's just Japan in August and September is a steam bath. But it looks like Nadia Battocletti can deal with almost any conditions, anything that's thrown at her. And she's the European #1 distance thrower.
There it is, Battocletti, the winner in 15:56 of the 5,000 metres, wins by 2.5 seconds from Garcia of Spain. Vanez, a great run for the Dutch athlete, good points for them in third. Lahti, well, performing above what it said on paper in fourth place for Sweden. Helga Thackeray fighting fifth. And Burkhardt there in sixth as well, part of that breakaway pack.